Good morning. Hello. Can you hear me? Okay. In the spirit of being able to talk about our truths, this is music of Ernest Bloch, and it is. I had a quote that I must have left in the car, so I will paraphrase. He was writing this. He wrote this piece of music in 1936, and he basically said that writing about his Jewish identity was music that expressed his Jewish identity was the only way. I think the two words he used were music of vitality and integrity. So you're going to hear Old Testament sounds in this very modern framework. Again, realizing this is before World War II that he wrote this.
Good morning.
Good morning.
William Gardner reminds us that we all have two religions, the religion we talk about and the religion we live. It is our task to make the difference between the two as small as possible. Welcome to the Sunday morning gathering of Summit Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. We are so glad to have you here joining us today on this gorgeous sunny day. And it's February. At last. Whether you're joining us in person or online, we are very glad that you're with us today. My name is Eleanor. I have short white hair, glasses, and I'm wearing a purple shirt and blue pants. Summit is a liberal religious community bound together by shared principles drawn from world religions, humanist teachings, nature and science, philosophy, and personal practice. We aspire to be a religion of love and inclusion. The mission of Summit is to commit ourselves to building a more compassionate, just, and sustainable world. If you are new to Unitarian Universalism, excuse me, or would like to know more about us, we invite you to go to our website, summituuf.org, or to talk to any of us here today. We have a couple announcements. Mary, you want to go first? And then Rin.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I am dyslexic, but no, I did not put the sling on the wrong arm. As you know, I've been healing from a major fracture on this arm for it's a 9-month heal. It happened in July. Well, on Monday, my ankle gave way and I fell and I said, "Don't fall on the right side." And I fractured the head of the ulna on the left side. Fortunately, it's a 6-month heal. It's a 6-week heal. It's just like it's like no surgery, no cast. So
We're wrapping you in bubble wrap, Mary.
yes, bubble wrap so I'm taking donations of bubble wrap. The second thing I want to share with you is today we're going to continue to work on our cards of care. And this is something the kids are doing, but also we're inviting the entire community to come and help. So I'm going to have them set up in the salon area. Just come over if you want to make creative and decorate the front of one, you can. If you just want to write a message in one that somebody else has already decorated, we need that help as well. So bring your gift of care to the community and fill out 1 or 2 cards. Just take a minute to come on over the table, and we'll get them out. And we're hoping to have enough to send to everybody. So, and if your address isn't up to date in our directory, this is a great opportunity to update your address so the card will find you. Okay, thank you.
Good morning, all. I'm Rin Corbet. I'm a 6'3", gray-haired man wearing a blue sweater. And Mary, I'm sorry to hear that you experienced that again. Took 2 things. I was made aware, part of the tech team, I was made aware this morning that when we transition from speaker to speaker using different microphones throughout this mic podium, the lapels, the handheld mics, I was informed that there's a slight gap, slight delay for our folks at home. So you folks at home, we apologize for this, and we're working on it. We'll get to that. My announcement today is that this Wednesday at 3 o'clock in the library, Lakeside Library, as part of my personal social justice work and part of my community organizing work, I'll be sharing the readings of Heather Cox Richardson. She is a historian. She teaches professor of history at, I think, at Boston University. But she also has a wonderful daily newsletter that comes out talking about the events, the history, the current history of what happened yesterday. But she does it in a very civil manner. She does it in a very professional manner, clear, and she talks about it in the context of our constitutional history of what we as a country, the last several centuries, what we were founded on. And so it's interesting. So we're going to read her newsletter. I hope this will be the first of a regular event. We'll see how many people in Lakeside show up. And you're all invited. Thanks.
Thank you. We stand upon the land that carries the footsteps of many generations of Kumeyaay people, which stretches from the shores of the Pacific Ocean, south to Ensenada, east to the sand dunes of the Colorado River in Imperial Valley, and north to Warner Springs. We acknowledge that this fellowship resides on unceded Kumeyaay land and honor the spirit and continuing presence of the Kumeyaay Nation. I'd like to invite Tom to come light the chalice.
Now you know how I felt the whole time.
Love is the aspiration, the spirit that moves and inspires the faith that we share. Rightly understood, love can nurture our spirits and transform the world. May the flame of this chalice honor and embody the power and the blessing of love, of the love that we need, the love we give, and the love we are challenged always to remember and to share. Thanks, Tom. Please stand as you are willing and able for our UU hymn and aspiration. this fellowship. May the quest for truth be its sacrament, and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration.
Good morning, everyone. Gonna try to pause for our folks at home next time. Sorry about that. My name, I am the Reverend Casey Marie Pandell. Getting used to how to say that is a little weird. And it is my honor and my genuine pleasure to be the minister here at Summit Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Whether it is your first visit or your 5,000th visit, you are whole, you are holy, you are loved, and you are so welcome here. I am a 5'3", although slightly taller in heels today, 35-year-old woman with short, dark hair, wearing a black top, a lovely purple and pink stole, orange pants with brown stripes, and tan shoes. Our reading today are words from Roy Phillips entitled Share the Wealth. Unitarian Universalists are proud of themselves for doing nothing to seek converts to this faith. A person's religion is a private, inward thing, it's said, and we should in no way seek to influence another person to choose our way in religion. The underlying principle here is respect for the privacy and integrity of the other, and such respect is certainly an admirable quality. The problem with this stance that we take is found in the premise about religion being a private, inward, solitary phenomenon. I submit that this idea is out of date. Rather, systems theory holds correctly, I believe, that there is no such thing as utter personal isolation. Not even in our inwardness is any one of us an island. Our personal spiritual orientation arises in a social context. The question then is, shall the Unitarian Universalist way in religion be offered as part of others' social context? My answer is an unequivocal yes. I don't intend to try to talk anyone into being a Unitarian Universalist, but I do want you talk going on in our community. A good deal of it too, if possible. My reasoning for this is that on any given day, there will be a number of people out there verging on a point of view very like the stance we Unitarian Universalists take. Left to themselves on their given day, they may well evaluate their dawning point of view as unacceptably eccentric or unworthy. Or worse, perhaps, they may accept the mainline evaluation of their new outlook as sinful and may suppose there is something fundamentally amiss with them since they are coming to look at these things in a new way. I believe the Unitarian Universalist prohibition against proselytizing and seeking converts is essentially irresponsible and cruel. Noble sounding though our respect for others' privacy seems. It is irresponsible and cruel because it would have us turn our backs on those anonymous others out there who are now approaching like-mindedness with us. Turn our backs and leave them to twist slowly in the wind. It would give us principled sounding permission to ignore them and leave them to be spiritually browbeaten and abused by the right-wing religionists of the day. There is no way that this can be considered a good thing. There are those out there who need to know that there is a way in religion such as ours that has a long and noble tradition and that is represented in our day by a lively community of faithful adherents. For this reason, these days I am talking a good deal about our way in religion, and I hope you're doing that too. You never know who out there in this very moment is in need of hearing about what we have discovered in religion. I say, don't keep it for yourself and just a few others. Share the wealth. Welcome to worship. And now I would ask you all to rise in mind, body, or spirit to join in singing our first hymn in the gray hardback hymnal 347, Gather the Spirit.
Gather the Spirit, harvest the power. Our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour. Our trials in this light will all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit of heart and mind. Seeds for the sowing are laid in store. Nurtured in love and conscience and mind. With body and spirit united before. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. The Spirit growing in awe, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun. Winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again.
As always, thank you, Duncan, for all of your work as our music director and for cantering for us, so we can all hear the music how it's supposed to sound when it's sung. And thank you, Barbara, for always being patient with us as we try to muscle through it. All of our music today, by the way, that we're singing are all by the same person, which Duncan did not intend, but was kind of a funny coincidence this week. And we could all use a little funny coincidence this week. Our joys and concern portion of our service give us the opportunity to hold the big things in our lives. You're welcome to email or text any of your joys or concerns to me throughout the week or to our worship chair, Stacy Sasaki. And every Sunday morning, you're welcome to write them up at the chancel. Whether a joy or concern is shared aloud, you are all welcome to light a candle as so moved. Eleanor would like to share a joy that I'm also very thrilled to share. 13 years ago this weekend, Mary became our Director of Religious Exploration. Thank you so much for all of the work you have done and continue to do for our children and our families over the years. I would like to share that, I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty thrilled. Who was here on Friday for the potluck? Go ahead and turn around, and that's about half the people who were here. The other half were the Methodist Church. We were basically almost out of chairs on Friday. So I'm thrilled to share that it was a really, really wonderful experience with the Methodist Church, and we are looking forward to doing this again with them very soon. And I believe we'll be inviting the Lutheran Church as well. Reverend Jamie and Reverend Andreas and I have been getting to know each other over the last year, and we want to keep building this community together so we have community resilience together over the next however many years. Jamie shares, for Robin Cleland and her husband Ashby and the thousands of federal government employees who are faced with terrible stress in the workplace these days. We hold them and all of that stress and unknown possibility in our hearts. And Eleanor shares one more today. Eleanor chose to wear purple today, representing the mixing of red and blue together. And she lit a candle as a call to people across our country to stand up and, with love at the center, work to stop those who work to create chaos, fear, and control by othering the vast majority of the population and who seek to destroy our democracy as quickly as possible. And she shares the call that I think we can all agree with: enough is enough. We know not every joy or concern is shared today, whether spoken or unspoken. We hold these joys and concerns tightly and warmly in our hearts. And I would like to invite Mary Carter Vale for our Time for All Ages.
Good morning. My name, as you know, is Mary Carter Vale, and today I am 5'7". I'm always 5'7", with graying red hair, wearing a blue top and a blue lacy cover, and a pair of my long flowy pants that have a wonderful paisley pattern in pink and purple. So very colorful today. And I have a story to share with you. This is one of those stories where you paint the pictures in your mind, and it's kind of this story that relates to our new theme for this month, which is inclusion, and has a bit of mysticism in it. Actually, universalist mysticism and wonder. It invites us to listen with our hearts and to connect to the story and discover how it invited you to be included. And during the story, I will have a couple points where I will ask a question, and it's a reflection question for you to hold in your heart and reflect it, okay? This story took place in the late 1700s. So the ship that is referred to is one of those really big sailing ships with lots of sails, no motors, everything moved by wind. Old school wind-moving ship. So as we begin, I invite you to sit comfortably in your chair or on the floor or in a lap, for those of you that are in laps. Take a deep breath. Focus your eyes in front of you or soften your gaze as you prepare to listen with your ears and paint pictures in your mind. So find your breath moving in and out and just relax for a minute. So this story is called Winds of Change, as in winds blowing. You never know what the wind will blow in or which way the wind will blow. The winds can change direction and maybe change your life. It happened to John Murray almost 250 years ago. As a young man, John Murray had had a fine education and a steady job, a loving wife, and young sons in Europe. Life was good. Then suddenly, everything changed. John Murray's wife and their sons became sick and died. John lost his job, lost all his money, and was put into jail because he could not pay his bills. So imagine a time when everything was going wrong in your life. And just breathe in and breathe out. John was a religious man, a universalist, who had even preached about a loving God. Now he was not sure what he believed. Friends urged him to go someplace where he could get a fresh start. So, as many of our ancestors did, he sailed for America on a ship named the Hand in Hand. I thought that was really beautiful. We sing about hand in hand, and this was the name of his ship. This was a sailing ship that depended on the wind to move it across the water by filling its many sails. The wind blew the ship towards their destination, New York. And after months at sea, when they were just about to get there, a fog rolled in and the tide went out, and the ship couldn't find its bearings, and it ran aground in New Jersey instead, what maybe is now the Jersey Shore, but back then it was rural. So John and a few others volunteered to leave the ship and to go onto land to look for food and directions and supplies. They've been at sea for months to get across from Europe. And as he was walking ashore, John saw a farmhouse with a small chapel or church beside it. It belonged to Thomas Potter. Thomas Potter greeted John, gave him food for everyone on the ship, and invited John to come back and have dinner with him that night. When John came back, Thomas Potter showed him the chapel. Thomas Potter said that he believed in a loving God who wanted to accept all people into heaven. John said that he believed the same thing. Now, this was a radical belief at the time, just to be clear. Thomas Potter told John that he had built the chapel and was waiting for God to send him a minister. "You, John, are that minister," he said. "I have waited for you for a long time." Well, John was quite surprised. So when have you been surprised at something that happened in your life unexpectedly? Just think about that. Hold those surprises in your heart. Now, John did not want to hear this. He was not a preacher anymore, and he was determined never to preach again. Yet Thomas Potter seemed confident that John was the Universalist preacher that he was waiting on. And he asked John to preach on Sunday. "I can't preach on Sunday," said John, "because as soon as the wind changes, my boat will set sail and I must be on it." "If the boat has not set sail by Sunday, will you preach?" asked Thomas Potter. "If I'm still here on Sunday, I will preach," said John Murray. Well, what do you think happened? No wind blew, no ship sailed, and John Murray preached at the little chapel on Sunday morning, September 30th, 1770. So in the chapel, Thomas Potter had built for him many years before, John was there that Sunday morning preaching. This felt like a miracle. So when has something miraculous or that felt miraculous ever happened to you in your life? You ever felt those moments of miracle? Hold those in your heart. The Universalist message of the power of love was good news to many who heard it. It was good news for John, and the winds of change blew yet again for John Murray. He now wanted to preach more than anything, and he did for many years. And he helped found Universalism in what was to become the United States of America. He is one of the ancestors of our faith home, and we, as Unitarian Universalists, owe a special thanks to Thomas Potter. It was his hospitality. It was his inclusion. It was his welcome that brought John Murray back to the pulpit. And we also owe a special thanks to the wind that blew him in and would not blow him out. So in the stories of your life, look for times when love overcame hardship. Think about who you owe a special thanks to or gratitude to. Who helped you during that hardship? And if you build it, they will come. This is our, if you build it, they will come moment. And how did the story remind you of times in your own life? And what did the story tell you about yourself? Hold these reflections again in your heart. And when you go over to the salon, feel free to share them with somebody, like how that story impacted you. So there's your little universalist history lesson for the morning. If you build it, they will come. And we are going to go over and create cards and look around the Summit campus for signs that we're inclusive. Are there signs here that we're inclusive?
There sure are.
Yeah, so we're going to go do a treasure hunt and see what we can find. So if our children who would like to come and join me, we're going to sing our Do Re Mi song and head on back to our RE space.
Invite Duncan up to lead us in hymn 316 in the Gray Hymnal, Tradition Held Fast. Please stand as you are willing and able.
You might want to pull out your hymnal for this one. It's one that we haven't sung very frequently. So yeah, I'm going to really encourage that. It's another wonderful Jim Scott one, but it's challenging.
Tradition held fast through very time and place. The raising of voices, the touching of hands, work all the Spirit, counsel of grace, through expression cross countless lands, freed from the worldly burdens that we bear, releasing the time of forgiving, sharing, lived in the power of communion, in the warmth of a common caring. Now though we turn to separate lives renewed, our circle of peace will not break as we part. Though form is gone, as we conclude, through us will it all, and to every fate of thine, and every open heart.
Please join me in a time of silent prayer, meditation, or reflection as I read words from John Corrado entitled, "Hey, ain't that good news?" We believe there is a place at God's table for each and every child of earth. We believe the giver of life has been given many names and loves the givers of all of them. Hey, ain't that good news? We are more interested in getting heaven into people now than getting people into heaven later. We believe religious scriptures are open doors rather than sealed vaults. We believe there is still some holy writ yet to be written. We believe true evangelism is more preaching practiced than practiced preaching. Ain't that good news? We believe peace and justice are not just words we form with our lips, but realities we shape with our lives. We believe in one race, the human race. We believe we are all one with stars and trees and tigers and rivers and all the stuff of life. We believe our lives are all about growing hearts that love, minds that seek, and hands that serve. Ain't that good news? Amen. So I've got another seminary story for you. Shocker. I was in a course that was called preaching. It was a worship class about, I can't remember the name now, but it was a worship class about how we can make worship more holistic, where you're not just sitting and listening, but how we can bring ritual into things and how we can bring more community into it. So you're not just sitting there staring at me every week. And I remember the professor, one of them, John Tolley, looked around on Zoom because it was still COVID time. And he said to us, who in this room is a born and raised Unitarian Universalist? I'm going to ask that question now. Who in this room today, sorry for those of you at Zoom or at home watching on YouTube, who here in the room today is a born and raised Unitarian Universalist? Raise your hand real high. One. You know that means the rest of you were evangelized too, right? And that was exactly what he told us. And I swear a Zoom room full of Unitarians went, no, we weren't. Oh my God, we were. Because evangelism for us, it's kind of a dirty word, right? Oh, we don't do that. That's not how we run our faith. But why is that such a bad word? The root of evangelism is actually a Greek word that actually means good news. So when we are evangelizing, I see you nodding, Tom, thank you. It's okay, I have a question for you in a minute too. When we are evangelizing, we are simply spreading the good news. So if you're sitting here in this room today, or if you're watching at home, someone shared with you the good news. And they probably shared it with you at a time you really, really needed it. I tell people all the time, if you are not currently a churched person, you do not show up at a church on a Sunday morning because you are bored. I'd rather sit at home with my dogs with a cup of coffee in a pair of sweatpants. So you come to these places because you are called to them. And when we are sharing that good news with each other, we are sharing that beautiful space that can help heal, that can help give hope. And gosh, do we need that a lot, right? This week especially. So Tom, how did you hear about Unitarian Universalism? In a very brief statement. And I'll say it back so everyone at home can hear us. So Tom knew, for those of you at home, Tom knew about Unitarian Universalism through his grandmother, and at a time in his faith journey where he was curious and questioning things, he felt at home with Unitarian Universalists.
Just want to add, my grandmother, I knew her in life, but very little. I never heard directly from her, but I only learned through my mother in an incidental comment one time that, oh, her mom, was a Unitarian. That's so, in a sense, I never really had anybody share what it was all about with me.
So it wasn't officially ever shared with Tom, but sounds sort of like Kismet to me, that maybe you heard about it at the right time. And let's see. Laurel, how did you hear about Unitarian Universalism? Thank you.
I have to wait for it. I was about 15. A friend in high school who I didn't know that well said I would like it and I should come. I couldn't drive. My parents came. My father, who is anti-organized religion, never left and was a member of, they were the members of their UU congregation until their deaths in their 90s. The friend who invited me became a born-again Christian and never went back to being a UU. But I never left, so.
I'm going to say that one's not our fault, though. Yeah, that's right.
It's a trade. It was a good trade. 3 for 1.
Thank you. Jim, how did you become a Unitarian Universalist? And for those of you at home or those of you in the room who may not know this, Jim is Eleanor's husband.
I'll try to keep the short story, not the long one.
I'm timing you. Go.
My family lived in a neighborhood full of conservative Catholics and some other conservative faith groups. My mom went to the library when I was young, probably kindergarten, looked in the library for books about different religious traditions, found some books published by Beacon Press, which is the Unitarian Universalist publishing wing. She really clicked with what they had to say, and the next thing I know, we're going to First Unitarian Church, San Diego and Hillcrest.
Thank you. And I would bet everybody in this room has their own story of how they found Unitarian Universalism. I know mine came after 2 years of a friend of mine inviting me to church and me going, no, thank you, I want nothing to do with it. And then it being there when I needed a grief group and being held in that space of brokenness and being told it's okay to be broken. See, I was raised Catholic, so that was pretty revolutionary for me. I wasn't ever told, I hear recovering Catholics in the room. Those are your words, not mine usually. I was told that you had to follow things a certain way, and my mom wasn't super Catholic. I keep insisting my mom is an undercover UU, and she just won't admit it yet. But I was never told that I was allowed to be what I was. I was always told I had to be the best version of myself, because if I wasn't, then I wasn't accepting Jesus into my heart. Heard that from lots of friends. I've heard lots of parents tell me that the reason they came to Unitarian Universalist congregations was because their young children were hearing from their friends at school that they would not go to the good place if they did not believe what they did. I hear lots of parents saying, I want to be in a place where my children are loved for who they are, not for what they don't know what they believe yet. So why aren't we telling people about Unitarian Universalism? Why are we not spreading the good news? How many times have you heard when you tell someone you're a Unitarian Universalist, say what now? All the time. Now, sometimes I hear people know us as Unitarians, which is slightly different, but still pretty good. We've got a good rap as Unitarians. But gosh, we've got something really beautiful and unique to share with people. We are so good, folks, at telling people who we aren't and what we don't believe. But does that make a Unitarian Universalist? I'm not seeing any nods or head shakes, so sit with that one, that's fine. We have what I think is a really wonderful space for people to deconstruct the harms that have been done from other faiths. We have a really unique space for people to come knowing we have the same values, but maybe different beliefs. About half the people in the room today raised their hands and said they were at the potluck on Friday. Guess what? Y'all evangelized on Friday too. There were questions at the tables, for those of you who weren't there, that Reverend Jamie brought for us. And they were discussion questions, and one of the questions was, what brought you to your faith? And we got to hear the Methodists say that back to us. And we got to share our stories with them. And I will tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, we share the same values as the Methodist church down the street. We may have a different word for God or spirit or whatever it calls us if we are called by some divine spirit. But at our core, the Methodists down the street and us have love at the center, just like our chalices. Would we have ever known that if we hadn't got together and shared the good news? Got one more question for you all. If you have invited someone to Summit in the last year, raise your hand. Every single person in this room that is not new should have their hand raised. Well, you love this community, don't you? This is your spiritual home, right? You helped create what it is. I'm not the be-all, end-all. Duncan's music is not the be-all, end-all. We're just a part of it. So what is it about this community that you don't want to share with your friends and family? Or do you want to share it, and maybe you're a little nervous to? Think about why. Think about what this community means to you, and think about it as a spiritual practice of sharing what this community means to you, because we are so much more than a social club, folks. We really, truly are. You wouldn't be here in this room today on a Sunday hearing me preach at you if all you wanted to be was a social club. So I'm going to challenge you all. I don't give you homework often, but I'm going to challenge you all to think for the next couple weeks. I'm not going to grade you, don't worry about it. Think about someone in your life who you think would really love this community. You heard it from Tom. He showed up and he felt welcomed and he felt like he belonged and he felt like he fit in. I tell people a lot, we are religion's answer to the island of the misfit toys. What other misfit toys do you know who could really benefit from the love and the care and the community that Unitarian Universalism can bring? Not just Summit, but I mean Unitarian Universalism at its core. The things that make you sit back and go, yes, I am a Unitarian Universalist, and proudly should also be the things loudly said. So think over the next couple weeks who that person is that you want to invite. And I hope I see them in this room really soon. Promise. No pressure. Promise them coffee if you have to. It's what brings a lot of yous together anyways. I know it can feel scary. If you've been hurt before by people doing the same thing to you, it can be really hard to be a missionary. But there is something worth sharing with everyone, especially with all of the stress and the fear and the worries happening in our community today. It's a spiritual practice to share the things you love with people, and you love this community, and I know other people will love it just as much. So may it be, and amen.
Thank you, Casey. By the way, that was my auction sermon. We will now have our offering. Your Sunday morning offering is a gift that provides Summit UU Fellowship the financial resources to help build a better world together. Any size gift is welcome. For those of you online, the Zoom link can be found in the chat box as well as in the virtual order of service. Please select the Sunday plate option to allocate your donation to the appropriate account. Barbara.
So the music I'll be playing, How Can I Keep From Singing, is in our hymnal As My Life Flows On in Endless Song. Thank you, Ren, for that. And it's an arrangement by our beloved UU composer and arranger Cliff Hardin. And I just wanted, because it really fits this, just want to read the words from one verse. When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. And here's the real important thing, I think, right now, with shaming going on. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
I'd like to invite Duncan to lead us in hymn 1052 in the Teal hymnal, The Oneness of Everything. This is our third hymn today by UU composer and troubadour Jim Scott, who's like 6'4", ginger. I've heard him in person before, he's fun. Please stand as you're willing and able.
I love the hymnal if you think it'll help you. It's a challenging one. It's beautiful.
clasp of hands, for light to meet the eye as the reaches of the mind. There find the key to nature's harmony in an architecture so entwined. Like the birds whose patterns grace the sky and carry all who join them expanding, the message of peace will rise in light, giving weight of the world upon its wings, in the oneness of everything. Peace is in the dance of trees who stir before the first breath of wind is yet perceived. Trust in the song becoming one with the dance, when all mystery can be believed. Songs of lives from past that touch our own are written in the earth, ever giving, and now to maintain the harmony, leave us all lives of waving, for the oneness of everything. We seek to find a truth that we might understand and reduce to terms defined. Past and immeasurable time and space, so overwhelmingly designed. Coalescing nears the smite, I know the faith that winters in the heart to be reborn in spring, to hear and to feel the pulse of life, enter my soul a song to sing of the oneness of everything.
A few months ago, I was at a restaurant with a friend, and the server was lovely. And of course, as you do when you get along with a server, they said, "What do you do for work?" And I said, "Well, I'm a minister." And they had some questions for me. And at the end of that conversation, my friend looked at me and she elbowed me and she goes, "You shouldn't do that." And I said, "Do what?" And she goes, "You shouldn't tell people stuff like that." I said, "What, that I'm a minister?" And she goes, "No, you shouldn't try to get them to come to your church." And I said, "Why not?" Now, she's an atheist, so I'll give her a little bit of credit. She did come to my ordination, and that's the only time she'll ever come see me. But there's nothing like seeing someone's face light up in a space like this when they realize they're home. Who do you want to invite home? Amen, shalom, salam, ashe, namaste, and blessed be. Go now in peace. May the light within you be a blessing to the world.
After we extinguish the chalice and our closing circle song, we'll have a 15-minute break, and then we'll come back for community gathering. Those who would like to can head straight over to the salon for coffee and refreshments. Everyone else will join you after the gathering. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. So please stand and join into a giant amoeba for the closing circle song.
We're an amoeba. I'll go between you guys. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, we made it. We're gonna need a bigger